The climax of the most important day in America's existence draws to a conclusion. The day is September 17th, 1787, in a sweltering Philadelphia courtroom. After 166 days of strenuous debate, the delegates to the Constitutional Convention have finally reached an agreement. They walk out of the courtroom victoriously, proud of their revolutionary accomplishment, ready to go back to their home state and encourage the vote to ratify their newly created American Constitution. Now, we stand with the spectators and watch eagerly as the delegates walk out of the old brick building and down the 3 wooden stairs. And all of a sudden, we catch a glance at old Ben Franklin. But he's not walking like the rest of the men. No, he's being carried down the stairs as he can no longer walk due to his severe gout. Although he's in great pain, we see him smiling and waving to us in the crowd. And all of a sudden, our attention shifts as a woman near us yells, "Doctor! Doctor!" to get Franklin's attention. At the sound of her voice, Franklin turns, and the woman then asks the question that's been plaguing her these last 166 days. "Well, doctor, what we got? A republic or a monarch?" Ben Franklin paused for a moment and then responded with a smile. "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." A republic if you can keep it. Why did Ben Franklin say this? Did he just say that this woman held the power of the entire federal government in her hands? Why? He knew what they had just agreed upon. He knew the famous words Gouverneur Morris had etched onto the preamble of their great document. "We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union." We, the people. Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free," end quote. With these words written in the preamble, the final governmental authority has been placed with all of us. The great responsibility of keeping this republic is ours. It is we, the people's. With this responsibility, we have very important duties and obligations to our government in order to keep it free and prosperous. For the purpose of this speech, I will define duties as optional obligations not enforced by law and obligations as mandatory actions enforced by law. First, the Constitution clearly lays out mandatory obligations for citizens to follow. First, we must obey the law of the land. Secondly, we must pay taxes. Third, males over 18 must register with selective services. And fourth, if summoned, one must serve jury duty. Obviously, every American must follow these, but there are 2 very important duties every American should participate in. 1, voting, and 2, being a well-educated citizen. The first of these is probably our most important and influential right afforded to us as citizens. And the second of these is a personal duty each of us should take to ensure we are keeping our republic. First, let's talk about voting. We, the people, no matter one's race and gender, are all afforded the right to vote. Voting has come a long way since the creation of the Constitution, and we now have 3 amendments which focus on voting: the 15th, the 19th, and the 26th. The 15th Amendment declared that all men, regardless of race, can vote. The 19th gave women the right to vote. And the 26th lowered the voting age to 18 because the common consensus was that if one was old enough to be drafted for war, they should also have the right to vote. Voting is each of ours personal duty to keep our republic. Many elections have literally been decided by 1 vote. And that is the power that we, the people, have. Thomas Jefferson said, quote, "We in America do not have a government by the majority. We have a government by the majority who participate, end quote. Americans, it is our duty to participate in our government. And in order to do this to the best of our ability, we must be well-educated citizens. Well, what does this mean to be well-educated? Well, I and the founders would define well-educated as knowing our rights in our history, in our Constitution. It requires no form of higher education, just a basic understanding of what makes us American. Knowledge of the Constitution is vital because it gives us an understanding and passion for America as a whole. How can we be in awe of the freedom to speak our minds, to protest the government, or worship whatever God we choose if we do not understand what that means? And more dangerously, if we do not understand the alternative. If we forget our rights, we won't even know that they've been taken away. And our society will quickly and blissfully slip into tyranny without anyone thinking twice. Associate Justice Felix Frankfurter said, quote, "We in America have enjoyed so much freedom for so long that we are perhaps in danger of forgetting how much blood it cost to establish the Bill of Rights," end quote. Americans, if we do not take time to educate ourselves on the immense freedoms we enjoy, we will forget. We will forget every man and woman who died to make America hallowed ground. We will forget every sacrifice made big and small for this great nation. And we will forget that it is our duty as we, the people, to keep our republic, like old Ben Franklin said. And the scariest part is, once we forget our rights in our Constitution, we never get that freedom back. That is why we must take time to educate ourselves and our children. Because as Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We do not pass it on in the bloodline. It must be fought for," end quote. We must fight against apathy and disrespect taking a foothold in our generations. We must fight against those who try to undermine our freedoms. And we must fight for our virtue and our value as Americans, or we will lose what has always made this nation great, which was that we, the people, stood for freedom. In the face of tyranny, we stood for freedom. In the face of the most powerful nation in the world, Great Britain, we stood for freedom. In the face of the evils of racism with the Civil War and sexism with the 19th Amendment, we stood for freedom. In the face of the bloodiest wars this world has ever seen, we stood for freedom. And even today, on the 24th of April, 2022, we here in this room continue to stand for freedom. And if we forget that, we forget everything. Right now in the world, nations are at war, fighting for freedom and for power. But we here can rest as Americans, knowing that no one can ever take away our liberty unless we give it up willingly. Americans, let us complete our duties and obligations as citizens so this great nation cannot perish from the earth. Let us remember the words that old Ben Franklin spoke that sunny September day so many years ago. It's a republic, ma'am, if you can keep it. But it wasn't just that woman's to keep. It was every other person in the crowd, every person in the courtroom, every one of their descendants, and every other American, finally down to us here today. It's up to us to keep our republic. Up to we, the people. Thank you.